Good morning.
Council Carol.
Good morning. Good. You can hear me.
Good morning. Thank you.
Thanks.
This is the host, Councillor Robinson. Would you like to do a sound check?
Thank you. Sound check.
We can hear you. Thank you.
After 3 days of council downtown last week, it is an absolute pleasure to be in the friendly confines of North York Civic Center. My name is Councillor James Pasternak. I'm the chair of North York Community Council. We have quorum. I'd like to call our meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Today's meeting is being held with members of council and city staff participating both by video conference and in person at North York Civic Center in the council chamber. North York Civic Center is open to the public, and anyone is welcome to attend the council chamber meeting today. The public may continue to participate electronically by video conference. This meeting is also being live streamed online at YouTube/Toronto City Council Live. The clerk staff have connected remote with public speakers to the meeting by video conference, and there are public speakers in the room with us today. The list of speakers can be found online by visiting North York Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. I ask everyone for their patience if we experience any delays or technical issues. Members, the city clerk has provided all agenda materials on toronto.ca/council and on CMP, the clerk's meeting portal. Clerk's IT staff will be available to members in the chamber and remotely if you need help with your devices. I would remind you all that you must submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at nycc@toronto.ca to help with motions. Although we were meeting in different locations and meeting remotely today, the committee would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga, the Quedet, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, Haudenosaunee, and Wendat peoples, and is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississauga of the Credit. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? I do not see any. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes of our previous meeting held on February 22nd, 2023? Councillor Cole. Councillor Cole is moving the minutes. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Members, we're going to begin our agenda review this morning. Before we begin our agenda review this morning, we have a short video presentation that's being shown at Toronto Community Councils this week. On March the 20th, 2023, a ceremony was hosted for 25 recipients of the Toronto Community Champion Award. The Toronto Community Champion Award is part of the Stronger Together program and was developed as an opportunity for residents to nominate and shine a spotlight on not-for-profit organizations across the city that made a positive and lasting impact on individuals and communities during the pandemic, particularly those in disproportionately affected communities. These groups have been unsung heroes of the pandemic, pivoting and changing their approaches in order to meet the needs of their communities at the grassroots. On March 20th ceremony, the award for organizations in North York was presented by North York Community Vice Chair, Councillor Mike Cole, and I thank you very much for appearing on my behalf. So the award recipients in North York was the Neighborhood Organization. The Neighborhood Organization is the name of the organization, for strengthening quality of life during the pandemic by connecting newcomers to essential services such as healthcare, vaccines, food support programs, and providing mental health supports and wellness checks. There was also the Thorncliffe Park Autism Support Network for continuing to provide services to children and youth with disabilities during the pandemic, including food programs, distributing PPE, creating back-to-school initiatives, and implementing mental, emotional, social, and recreational support. And in York Centre, the Toronto Black Farmers and Growers Collective for ensuring food was made accessible to everyone during the pandemic by donating food to impacted communities comprised of youth, families, and elders. And I think we have at least the Toronto Black Farmers and Growers Collective with us today. I don't know if there's the other groups are here, but anyway, I welcome you all. So we'll now play the video presentation that highlights the wonderful work of the not-for-profit organizations, including the recipients in North York throughout the pandemic. And of course, I think we all agree that government cannot do everything, and we rely very heavily on these organizations to do the wonderful work in their communities.
So sorry.
Did you get some rest?
Sure. Stop sharing.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry about that.
When I think about the pandemic and all that it meant to the residents of Toronto, I think some of the most significant things were the pace at which the situation with COVID-19 was evolving. Certainly in the early days, the situation would evolve even faster than day by day. We were seeing changes hour to hour, and I think the biggest challenge for our residents was having to keep pace with all of the changes, be it closures or new restrictions or new provisions and new instructions from the province, from the federal government, and from the city. And our residents did a magnificent job of keeping up with all of that under the most extraordinary circumstances.
There was a lot of uncertainty at the outset of the pandemic. We were dealing with a brand new virus that we really didn't know very much about. We were trying to understand how it spread and who it was affecting. And on top of that, we had the pre-existing challenges of housing insecurity or overcrowding, access to food, access to appropriate levels of income. And these are the communities and the people that many of our not-for-profit organizations in Toronto are serving. I think what was most notable for the residents of Toronto is that there have always been inequities and challenges in the city around differential levels of access to income and access to the social determinants of health. But these were magnified and certainly worsened over the course of COVID-19.
Well, this pandemic touched everybody in very different ways. For some, it meant a loss of a job. For others, it meant that they were very concerned about their own personal health. For others, it meant caring for loved ones. But you know, sometimes in a crisis, you really find out what you have in a community. We've always known our not-for-profit community is a really strong part of the fabric of what makes Toronto a world-class city and a great place to live, work, play, and learn. But in the pandemic, we found that they're even more important than maybe we even knew.
And we also saw that there was a rise, a dramatic rise actually, in resident grassroots organizing outside of traditional agencies as people kept trying to figure out, how can I help?
I'll never forget watching this amazing, dedicated, selfless group of people come together to literally to save lives and to make a difference in the lives of people they may have never met and they may never meet again. And to me, it represented everything that Toronto is.
Our not-for-profit organizations were there helping the helpers. They were the front line for the front line. They made sure that the most vulnerable members of our communities were fed, that they had access to medicine and vaccines when vaccines became available, and that they had access to safe spaces, places to shelter, and people to talk to. So to my mind, what not-for-profit organizations did in the pandemic response was answer the call, the highest call to citizenship and to serve their community.
I will never stop being appreciative of the not-for-profits and the community organizations throughout the COVID pandemic. And I think the biggest challenges that they faced was dealing with all of this changing environment and having to immediately pivot and transform their service delivery models against this myriad of challenges and changes. And that was everything from physical restrictions, many of them having to move from business models that were designed to have people come to them and have to reverse that, where they were having to go to people. Just things like the lack of PPE availability and being able to source that, and changing income streams, and just so much. And I watched this collection of amazing organizations change and pivot and evolve and keep pace with a pandemic that none of us had ever imagined or seen before.
The Toronto Community Champion Award properly acknowledges and recognizes and celebrates these heroes in our midst. Heroes who are our not-for-profit organizations throughout the city of Toronto. They stepped up in a remarkable way over the course of the pandemic. They demonstrated the ultimate in selflessness and the ultimate, in my mind, in citizenship. And I think that this is something that is truly worthy of celebration.
There's one more video that's specific to North York.
North York utilized long-standing relationships, trust, which had been earned over many years, to do what would have taken many years to do.
Organizations in North York had to use new approaches to meet the needs of their clientele, and also had to understand new issues emerging in their communities.
They were able to scale up a wide variety of services that residents needed during the pandemic, whether it was food, mental health supports, what have you. They did it, and they did it in a timely fashion, because we didn't have a lot of time on our hands.
I think our community service organizations across Toronto are emblematic of the human spirit. They are emblematic of what Torontonians, Ontarians, Canadians take the deepest pride in. That no one is left behind. That when my neighbor is in trouble, I can step up.
So much of the support that we get in our neighborhoods, in our families, in our communities, comes from organizations that are funded through the city and elsewhere, like the ones that have been nominated for Toronto Community Champion Awards.
Well, thank you very much. Those are wonderful videos and wonderful groups that have helped keep our city strong. Do we have representatives of the neighborhood organization here? We do. And Noel and Jacqueline from Toronto Black Farmers are here. Thorncliffe Park Autism Support Network? No? So could we invite representatives of any groups that are here to the front? And I would ask my colleagues, they want to take a group picture with the counselors that are here. All righty?
I just hope the black farmers brought up some callaloo. No?
Councillor Carroll and Councillor Robinson, if you could smile for the camera, please. Thank you. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I wonder if I could just say a couple of words as you're going back to your chair.
Do any councillors just want to say a couple of words about their local groups? Okay, Councillor Carroll and then Councillor Robinson.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I'd love to say something about all the groups, but also yourself for arranging this. I'm sorry I'm not there today. You know, as you know, I've been attending in person, but I woke up feeling a little symptomatic, and you can't be too careful. So I stayed home to keep others safe. Just wanted to thank you and staff for arranging this, because we have a busy agenda, and I know it's a choice. You could say, no, I'm sorry, our agenda's too long, we can't do that. And I'm really glad that you did take the time to show us the video and to invite the groups to be with us today. It's especially, I think it's especially timely because, you know, we're into those sort of post-pandemic times now when, because we were all hands to the pumps and stronger together back then. There's a lot of sort of residual anger now, and fear. Even we have the high levels of the aftermath mental health problems in the community, and so people are feeling differently now, and we need the reminder of how these wonderful groups sort of pull together the communities around them and kept us all in a positive we can fight this mode. And I just wish we could have a tablespoon of that effort from each of these groups go back out into the community now and remind people that we can get through what we're going through now in just the same way by pulling together as a community. And so I thank you for reminding us that we're capable of that today. And thank you to all the groups that came into the chambers to join this celebration.
Great, thank you, Councillor Carroll. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm particularly proud of my local organizations who we work so closely with through the pandemic. Of course, Shaklo, she's becoming a known name, just won the Agnes MacPhail Award, and she's been helping get really healthy meals to kids specifically in the community of Thorncliffe Park throughout, continues to do it, especially during Ramadan. So it's Shaklo's just a pleasure to work with. She's a lovely person and she gets things done. Also, of course, TNO, who ran food banks and helped get the vaccine rates up, truly helped get the numbers up. So it was a hot spot, Thorncliffe Park, and we collaborated along with Michael Guerin Hospital, which was, again, phenomenal, as was Sunnybrook. But TNO played such a pivotal role in the community. We were there with them, trying to communicate to people it's a vaccination day. And they just, I can't say enough about the work they did through this really horrific time in our city and across the globe. So cheers to those groups. Congratulations, well deserved.
Great, thank you very much, Councillor Robinson. Any other councillors want to speak on this item? No? Okay. Anyway, thank you very much. city staff, and of course my colleagues, and of course the groups that kept our city strong. And I know I'm repeating myself when I say that government alone cannot do it all, and it is our nonprofits, our charitable organizations, our volunteers, philanthropy that keeps the city healthy and livable. So a great thanks to you, and of course I have a bias because the Black Farmers Collective from my ward is here, and I wanted to once again congratulate them on their great work, and I look forward to visiting the farm very soon. And eating callaloo. Yes. All right. So thanks so much, and I think we should move on to the agenda because it is a busy agenda. We're going to move to 4.1. This is I'm going to move to untimed items. 4.1. This is a deferred item. Councillor Robinson?
I do have a couple questions of staff.
Okay, so why don't we hold the item because there are speakers. And everything else is time, so we're going to... Okay. Some of them are labeled timed, but they're not statutorily timed. So you can sort of almost ignore the time in the box there. 4.2, 147, Overbrook Place, part lot control application, decision report. I can move the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 4.3, 3646 Monclova Road, part lot exemption application, decision report. I can also move the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 368 to 372 Briar Hill Avenue, part lot exemption application, decision report approval. Councillor Cole? Staff recommendations on 4.4. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 4.5, 2451 Dufferin Street, zoning bylaw amendment application, appeal report. Councillor Cole?
I'll move staff recommendation.
Staff recommendations moved on 4.5, 2451 Dufferin Street. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 4.6, 131 Lyon Court and 838 Roselawn Avenue, zoning amendment application.
Hold.
Hold. 4.6 is being held. 4.7, 25 Old York Mills Road, official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, appeal report.
Oh, I'd like to hold that.
Okay, Councillor Robinson, thank you. That is held.
Yeah, I had a question of staff on that as well, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Just
okay.
a quick one.
It is being held. 4.8, 1800 Sheppard Avenue East, official plan zoning bylaw amendment application, report for information. Councillor Carroll?
Sorry about that. I was muted. I can move the staff recommendations.
Staff recommendations moved on 1800 Sheppard Avenue East. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 4.9.
And that, just to be clear, the recommendation is receipt. That was an update. Yeah.
Okay, receipt has been moved.
Yeah.
4.9, 2236 Greenbriar Road, official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and rental housing demolition applications. Decision report approval. Councillor Carroll?
Yes, Madam Speaker. I don't want to hold up my colleagues on this one, but this one I've submitted a motion to the clerks that the item be forwarded to City Council without recommendations. I'm a little frustrated with this one because staff are making a recommendation here, but the applicant is so close and yet not really down to, it's a difference of one story and a little bit of floor plate between them. And I would really like to see the applicant come to the table and get to a happy place with city planning rather than this thing going to a hearing. And so I'm moving that this go to city council in the hopes that that conversation takes place between now and council.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Carroll. The item's being moved without recommendation, forwarded to council. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. .10, 36, 38, and 40 Churchill Avenue. Part lot control exemption applications approval report. Councillor Cheng.
Move staff recommendations.
Staff recommendations moved on Churchill Avenue. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 411, 172 to 186 Finch Avenue West, 133 Grantbrook, and 305, 313 Hendon Avenue. Councillor Cheng?
Move staff recommendation. Shelley.
Mr. Chair, before we take the motion, I have a quick question of staff on this, so I wonder if we could hold it.
Okay, we'll hold item 411. .412, 155 Elm Ridge Drive, residential demolition application. Councillor Cole.
I just want to make a couple of comments and then move staff recommendations, if I could make the comments now.
Well, you have to, it's not, you have to choose what you want to do with this.
Okay, I'll hold both of them.
Yeah, you can approve it or refuse it. Or
I'll hold both of them.
Approve it with conditions.
I'll hold both of them because I've got to talk to the conditions. I'll hold both of them.
Okay. 413, 165 Elm Ridge. Oh, well, it's a separate item, but are you holding this as well?
Yeah, both.
Okay. 414. Um, 18 Goulding Avenue. No, the speaker has withdrawn. Councillor Cheng?
I'd like to hold the item, please.
Item held. 415, 223 Gladys, Allison Place, residential demolition application.
Mr. Chair, we're into items that are statutorily timed to 10:30. I wonder, if it's not 10:30, if you might want to skip ahead to the items with no timing.
Yeah, so these are not statutorily tied to timing. It's just. Yeah, so if the clerk would like to explain, this was an experiment that.
Oh.
And I take your point, everyone, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. So these are not statutory hearings. So 223 Gladys Allison Place, we can deal with it now because it's.
Oh, so it says 10:30 just for meeting management purposes?
Yes, I guess that's the way to describe it. Yeah, so I don't think we're going to do this in the future because it is a little bit confusing, especially there's no speakers on this item, but if there were, they would think this item's going to be heard at 10:30, which it is not.
I want to move staff recommendations.
Okay, staff recommendation. Well, you have to pick. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So approve the demolition.
Approve with conditions or approve without conditions?
Approve with conditions.
Okay, so Councillor Cheng is moving option 3. It's approval of the application to demolish with the conditions listed. It's on the screen if anyone's confused. All right, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 416, 100 Patricia Avenue, residential demolition application. Councillor Cheng?
Move the third option, approve with conditions.
Okay, third option moved, approval with the conditions. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 18, 52 Finch Avenue East, residential demolition application.
Same, move with condition. Move number 3, demolished with conditions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your speaker.
Just there is a speaker listed on item 17, 50 Finch Avenue East.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to hold that item. Did we move it? Did we move that?
I know.
Yeah, move to reopen. I
And
was on the
18.
prevailing side.
18. Just work through the clerk.
I think we voted on it, Mr. Chair. I'll move to
Yeah,
reopen
so Councilor Carroll, could you move to reopen 17?
it. For the third time, I move to reopen.
Okay, all those in favor of reopening 17 so we can hear the deputant? All those in favor, opposed, that is carried. So 17 is now being held for speakers. 18 is also speakers. And 19, the speaker is withdrawn, so it is 98 Patricia Avenue, residential demolition application. It seems like they're tearing everything down in Willowdale.
I know. This is, are we at 4.19?
Yes, 98 Patricia.
Parkland dedication. So 3, approve demolition with conditions.
Okay, number 3 being moved. It's approval with conditions. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 20, 60 Ruddington Drive, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes. Councilor Carroll?
Move the staff recommendations.
Staff recommendations move on item 20. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 21, 70 Ruddington Drive, designation of fire routes amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes. Councilor Carroll?
Move the staff recommendations.
Staff recommendations moved on 21. All those in favor? I don't see too many hands going up. Opposed? That is carried. Item 22, 101 Ravel Road, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes. Councilor Carroll.
Move the staff recommendations.
Staff
and
recommendations.
Congratulations, that's the pronunciation.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 23, 147 Gypsy Roseway and 212 Texas Roseway, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes. Councilor Cheng?
Move staff recommendations, please.
Staff recommendations moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 24, Magnetic Drive, parking amendment. I will move the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 25, 2490 and 2514 Yonge Street, construction staging area. Councilor Cole.
I'll move staff recommendation.
Staff recommendations moved on item 25. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 26, Caribou Row parking amendments. Councilor Cole.
I'll move staff recommendations for Caribou Road, NY 4.26.
Staff recommendations moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 27, Adra Grado Way and Okra Tomar Crescent, stop control and parking amendments. Councilor Carroll?
Very close on the pronunciation. I'll move the staff recommendations. Those ones were a mouthful.
Yeah, no. Okay, staff recommendations moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 28, Van Horn Avenue, north side between Edmonton Drive and Taverly Road, exemption request, driveway, apron, parking. Councillor Carroll?
Yes, can I just double check? Was anyone registered to speak on this?
I don't have any speakers listed. And we're just moving receipt
Okay,
on this
okay.
item.
Yes, staff recommend receipt of this request for safety reasons, good safety reasons, as was explained to me. So I'll move the staff recommendation.
Okay. Recommendations to move receipt. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 29, Spring Garden Avenue, parking amendments. I don't have any speakers on the item. Councillor Cheng?
I'd like to hold it. I just have a couple questions. Thanks.
That item is being held. Item 30, 23 Laurentia Crescent, request for fence exemption. And that is mine. So I'm going to hold that for speakers. And application to remove private tree at 59 Palm Drive. I have a speaker on that as well. So we're going to hold that item. Item 32, 146 Three Valleys Drive. Application to remove a private tree. Now we have a speaker. Yeah, because it's not here. Okay, we're going to hold that for speakers. And 33, 16 Clementis Road, application to remove a private tree. We do have a speaker, so we're going to hold that item as well. 34, 25 Janus Court, application to remove 2 private trees. And I don't have any speakers on that item. Councillor Carroll?
I'll move the staff recommendation.
The request is denied. Councillor Carroll is moving those recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 35, 76 Covewood Street, application to remove 3 private trees. And I don't see speakers on my...
No, you won't. Mr. Chair, I've submitted a motion to staff, hoping we can. I'm hoping we can move this one. This motion is the result of a lot of work between site visits, myself on site, staff on site, and working together leading up to the agenda here. This was an application to remove 3 trees. Instead, I'm asking and this is difficult because I know my colleagues know. I know that the passion for the private tree bylaw on our community council in particular, but this one is a particularly difficult one. I'm moving. This motion allows one of the trees to remain, one of the mature trees to remain, but the others to be removed after lots of consultation with staff. And you'll note that I don't have, there is some wording in there about replacement trees, but in fact, Mr. Bostock is going to work together with the homeowners to work out the replacement plan and the combination of cash and which can be planted on site. And that motion is in consultation with Mr. Bostock.
Sorry, can I hold that item?
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Held by Councillor Robinson. Looks like a clear-cutting request here. 36, sorry.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If you don't mind, on a point of privilege, I have to take issue with that editorial comment.
I withdraw.
I just explained that this motion leaves one mature tree in place and was done in consultation with staff, so that was a bit too editorial.
I said
for
the
my
request.
Appetite.
I said the request was clear-cutting, not your motion. But understood.
Okay, I still find that a little too editorial for the position of chair.
Okay, noted. Item 36,
Thank you.
206 Dunforest Avenue, application to remove a private tree. We have a speaker on that, so we'll hold it. That is Councillor Cheng. 37, appointments to Business Improvement Area Boards of Management. Okay. Held by Councillor Cole. Item 38. Laying the groundwork for a 25-year time capsule in North York. I'm just going to hold that for a minute. I just want to take another second look at that. I think it's just really for receipt. 39 is Melrose Avenue.
Move staff report.
Okay. We're moving, what's on the table is Councillor Cole's letter is being moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 40, Yorkdale-Glen Park Neighborhood Livability Study.
I'll move the report or letter. Just looking at a study to make the area greener.
All right. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 41 McAdam Avenue and Groton Street. I'll wait.
Hold.
Oh, okay. Held by Councillor Cole.
Or what I could do is just ask for support for my letter asking for the installation of the four-way stop.
Okay, so you'd like to, you want to move an amendment to...
to have staff install a four-way stop at McAdam and McCordon Street there.
I'll put that to a vote now, or you're holding it?
We can put it to a vote now.
Okay. So this is to authorize an all-way stop control at the intersection of McAdam Avenue and Groton Street. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 42, Elviston Drive Community Safety Zone. Councillor Burnside.
Looking for support to make, as you said, Elviston Drive a community safety zone. Happy to answer any questions if anyone has any concerns. Otherwise, happy to go to a vote.
Okay.
No concerns. Happy to go to a vote.
Okay. The item is being moved by Councillor Burnside. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried.
Mr. Chair, I actually might have a question. I'm sorry. I just now noticed that the two streets, and I wonder if the councillor wants to make a quick comment, because there aren't these almost connected stretches of Sloan. Why not just make one big safety zone?
Well, I did pause because I was surprised that nobody had any questions or comments, and then we took the vote. So, do you have questions for staff, Councillor Carroll, or the mover?
Well, no, I can even, if you want to just hold it, I can even ask it offline. I'm just trying to make for consistent signage. So I can even ask the councillor offline by text if you want to keep going with the meeting, but maybe just hold them for a second.
Did you want to reopen because it's adopted? We voted on it and it's adopted.
Oops, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, maybe reopen 42, and I'll just ask the councillor offline about 42, 43.
Okay, there's a motion to reopen item 42.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Okay, 43, Eccleston Drive, speed limit reduction. Councillor Burnside has sent a letter to the chair. requesting that they reduce the speed along the stretch from 50 kilometers an hour to 40 on Eccleston Drive between Sloane and the west end of Eccleston Drive. Any questions? Does someone want to hold it? Any questions for the mover? Or we'll put it to a vote.
Without questions, I'm happy to write to a vote.
Mr. Chair, I apologize. I was reading it in reverse. I now understand. I'm sorry to gum up the works here. It's because I know these streets pretty well. But now I understand. I didn't realize it was on Eccleston. I thought both sections were on Sloane. So I can release 42 and happy to support 42 and 43. I ended up answering my own question. Sorry, Councillor Burnside.
Okay. It's certainly a circuitous. It's a circuitous route to getting this done, but it will get done. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to 42. Councillor Carroll has graciously agreed to release the item. So all those in favor of a community safety zone on the designated streets?
Thank you.
Opposed? That carries. Now we can go to 43. And this is speed limit reductions between Sloane and the west side of Eccleston Drive. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 44, Langbourne Place, speed limit reduction. Councillor Burnside. It's another,
Same as the other one, and unless anyone has any questions, happy to go to a vote.
All right, so this is a request by the local councillor for reducing the speed limit from 50 kilometers to 40 on Langbourne Place between Donway West and the west side of Langbourne Place. Any questions for the mover? Any questions for staff? Councillor Carroll?
No, I'm just voting.
Okay, all those in favor?
Thank you.
Opposed? That is carried. Okay, so we can go back to the top of the, there's a walk-on item, I believe, from Councillor Robinson.
That's right. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
So,
it's restoring the
yeah, go ahead. Did you want to introduce
Sorry,
your item?
just restoring the, this is a 12-year problem. So I'm bringing it to this body to have it approved. So if we could support this, if we could vote on it now, it's just to really give this a bit more focus because it's gone on for over a decade.
All right, so we'll do two votes. One is to add it to the agenda as a walk-on item. So all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And if those, if unless there's any questions or anyone wants to hold it, we can vote on it right now.
Well, I would like to read it, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Because I have a similar situation, so I'd love to read it before we vote on it.
All right, so the item's being held. Councillor Carroll is holding the item, and she needs some time to read it. Maybe there'll be questions for staff.
And may I just ask, I don't have access to the CMP this morning. Will it be uploaded on Timus so I can see it fairly soon?
It should be there.
Okay, super. Thank you.
It's item 45. But should be there.
Thank you.
Okay. Let us know if it's not.
I'll probably release it very soon, Councillor Robinson. Thanks.
Okay,
all right.
Thanks.
So we're back up to item 4.1, 54 York Road, application for fence exemption. It's being held. We have speakers. Rumi Domia. Oh, sorry. Midori Chikara. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. You have 5 minutes.
Hello, good morning. Thank you very much for having me again for the application for fence exemption on 54 York Road. After COVID, I feel the city has been changing rapidly. We used to have very quiet, peaceful neighborhood for years, but unfortunately it is changing. You can see this file that recently Baby Post, every month they post the Toronto break-ins. And then this highlighted is in my neighborhood within walking distance. This is, it was February and this is January. And then I can show you the map. And then both of them, Baby Post only first 2 weeks. So this, three incident is only for the half months. So you can easily imagine that the break-ins are happening in half months, at least 3 incidents. So we can easily imagine that the break-in is happening about 6 or more cases per month around my neighborhood. Orange is my house, and then the yellow part is all the break-ins, first 2 months of January and the first 2 months of the February. Today, I like to share the video footage of one of the good neighbors who has agreed, happy to agree at this meeting. It's happened this last year, August and November. You can see on right side, somebody is checking the basement window. It's August last year. This is last year's November. Both of them happened 2 o'clock in the midnight. As I explained last meeting, my family had experience of intruder last previous house when my kids were very small. I was alone at that house, and then it was terrifying experience for me and for my children. And then we still have quite impact of the intruder, which I never had in my life until that time. So when having a higher fence over 2 meters give me very great security to feel safe at my own house. Because 2 meters is easily alive the hands for the fit fellows. I am fortunate enough that both sides of my neighbors, east and west side, they are very understanding and supporting us to keep our current fence. And we have their signed submission for supporting. For the north side neighbor who opposed to keep our fence, the fence of her side has been adjusted at lower height as requested by her. We will make sure to keep all the fence in good condition at all the times. As we see the first of the meeting, I appreciate to this city of Toronto. I lived in Toronto for over 25 years, raised 3 children here. I have been quite impressed how the city handles various matters with great consideration for each individual's personal circumstances. So far,
you're well over 6 minutes. You'll have to wrap up.
Yes. There are already at least 37 cases in last 2 years that city has granted the permission for fence over 2 meters. I do believe the city made those decisions by considering each case as with reason and circumstances, with understanding and compassion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Comments. Are there any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much. Rumi Dalmaya?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. You have 5 minutes.
Sorry, if I could just have a minute to prepare my laptop. Okay. Hello, members of the council. Thank you for having me. My name is Rumi Dalmaya, and I am a resident at 54 York Road. Regarding the concerns surrounding the height of our fences, the main opposing point made by Ms. Fusel in the last meeting was, and I quote, 54 York Road with a higher fence already is setting a precedent for another property. And by another property, Ms. Fusel had made it clear that in the last meeting she was referring to the property adjacently east to hers, 169 Beechwood Avenue. Evidently, the ultimate concern for Ms. Fusel is not the height of our fence, but rather the potential heights of the future fences of her neighbors, the residents of 169 Beechwood Avenue. Our house is not setting a precedent for higher fences, as there have already been over 30 cases of exemptions in this city that involve the heights of fences in the last 2 years. However, even if Ms. Fusel had some merit to her concerns, it was already established in the last meeting by Mr. James Slocum, municipal licensing staff, that individuals would still require an exemption application despite any precedents for high fences. My mother is currently tremendously relieved with a higher fence. To lower these fences would have a devastating impact on my family, particularly on my mother's mental health and well-being. We have provided transparent and reasonable reasons as to why we should be granted an exemption. To give my mother and my family a sense of safety and peace of mind, I implore you to grant us the opportunity to leave our fence as it is. Moreover, pertaining to the concerns regarding the panel, under the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447, by definition, a fence is a barrier, including one for noise attenuation or any structure except a structural part of a building that wholly or partially screens from view, encloses or divides a yard or other land, or marks or substantially marks the boundary between adjoining land, and includes any hedge or shrub that has the same effect. Back in 2003, by definition, the panel was considered a fence since it partially screened from view. However, it does not fall under this definition any longer. Please refer to pictures 1 to 6 that have been submitted. Ms. Fusel made a false claim in her statement in the last meeting, saying that we had installed the panel last year. This is simply not true. This panel was there when we purchased this house back in 2013, as seen in picture 1, and had been there for at least 10 years, as seen in pictures 2 to 6. There are several people who can attest to this. Ms. Fusel simply did not see the panel for 10 years since it did not wholly or
I would request that you not mention the names of other deputants and just state the facts to us. We're not on trial here.
How should I refer to her then? The claimant
Just
or?
a neighbor?
So, deputy. Okay. Furthermore, this panel does not enclose nor divide the yard or other land, as this panel is simply placed adjacently to the shrubs. There is a separate fence which acts as the boundary between the adjoining lands. Unfortunately, due to the fence construction last fall, the shrubs between the panel and the fence have likely gotten thinner, which may have resulted in the panel now partially screening the view between these properties where the dense shrubs were previously. We will ensure that the shrubs are restored to their original state, so the deputy, the north side neighbor, will no longer be inconvenienced by the view from her property as it was. We have already contacted a company and have received the price quotation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the deputant? No, I'm having
Yes,
trouble.
Mr. Chair.
I'm having trouble seeing my online colleagues. Joan Fassel?
Mr. Chair, I did have a question.
Oh, you did? Yeah, as I said, I'm having trouble
'Cause
seeing you. Sorry, just one second. Councillor Carroll, you had a question for the deputant?
Yes, just a quick question. 'Cause I'm trying to clarify. Looking at the photos, I remember the conversation about the panel from the first time we considered the item, but I just want, there's a picture in here that may have been taken during construction. As I recall, that we're dealing with the exterior fence, but the pool is also enclosed from the house. Am I right about that?
Yes, we have a pool in our backyard, if that is what you're referring to, and the fence does enclose.
Yes,
the pool.
and
Yes.
it's fully enclosed?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I quite understand. The pool, is it fully enclosed by a fence?
Yes.
It is fully enclosed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Any other questions for the deputant? Okay, thank you very much. Final speaker on the item, Joan Fassel.
Mr. Chair and councillors, thank you very much for having us today. I want to thank you all very much, too, for your close attention to the issues that I raised at your February 22nd meeting, particularly about this screen up here. As it's seen from my side, I am the neighbor on the north side. It is 2.84 meters in height at the middle, and it was deemed to be considered a fence back in 2003, when 19 years ago the predecessor of this council had it removed, and it was removed in 2004. It seems to be the same thing that has been reinstalled in August of 2022 by the current owner, who might not have been aware of the previous decision in 2004. I was particularly impressed with Councillor Carroll, who actually remembered that history. Thank you. And you asked why the screen was not part of the application or the MLS report. But from my position, the fence, the screen, and a third issue, which I raised, which was related, were all in my complaint to MLS in November 15th of 2022. The officer was in touch with me promptly. Dates were set for inspections, and they were missed. And it was apparent that there was an issue of short staffing in that department, because the officer told me that they were the only officer for the ward for some time and had 300 files to take care of. So in all this time between November 15th and your meeting, it seems that the officer was not able to attend and see the screen in the backyard. I learned about the notice of violation for the east and west fences happened in December when I received the notice about your meeting on February 22nd. And after that, by phone, I learned that the officer had not had access to the backyard to see the screen, and apparently they didn't come to my side either to see it. So I really thank you, councillors, for getting a commitment from a senior MLS to see the screen, but I haven't heard whether it has been inspected. So my question for you is, has it been inspected? My second question is, what was the MLS recommendation about the screen? And please, respectfully, I appreciate that neighbors might wish to have higher fences, and they were part of my original objection. I do think they are creating a precedent with my next door neighbor now told me very clearly that he wants a high fence like that one. So I do respectfully hope that you will please decide to support the bylaw, have the fences reduced to 2 meters in height, have the posts cut down accordingly so somebody doesn't go ahead and add lattice again later, and have the screen removed or shortened. And if you so decide, my third question is, when would I expect that action to happen?
You could wrap up, please.
I'm done. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much. Questions for staff?
Councillor Robinson.
Councillor Robinson.
Thank you very much. To staff, this item was deferred from our February meeting. Could staff advise what has changed in the application or what their assessment was?
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. For the record, my name is James Slocum, Supervisor with Municipal Licensing and Standards. Subsequent to the last North York Community Council, I had the occasion to review our database, and consistent with what was mentioned, there was an application in 2003 pertaining to the rear fence in the rear yard at 54 York Road. The officer is, the supervisor made notes in the file. I reviewed the notes, said that council refused the height of the perimeter fencing up to and including, it doesn't mention the screen, but it says a structure. I have no photos to confirm. However, there's a note and an entry saying that the screen, the structure was removed subsequently. The matter that's before you today is a report that's consistent with municipal licensing standards ongoing enforcement and policies pertaining to Municipal Code 447 and the fence bylaws, consistent with the deputant's, the property owner's deputation earlier this morning. The definition of a fence in the current bylaw is one that divides property. So the report before you this morning is consistent with our ongoing practice, and that is a fence that divides property. So if there is a screen there or a structure or whatever wording you want to put on it, it's a privacy screen, and the bylaw does not speak to it currently.
Okay, thank you. I believe we heard in February, and I want to double down on this because of that, but the neighbor to the north, I'm not going to use names, was very concerned about precedent, and I understand that. But can you confirm the precedent piece? Like, is there a precedent set by this? Because that was not my impression last meeting.
No, consistent with, I believe I spoke to it at the last meeting. If a fence does exceed the required height in the bylaw, the owner of the property can submit to our department, the Offices of Municipal Licensing and Standards, an application for an exemption. There's no precedent set. The process is consistent with the ongoing situation. If a fence exceeds the height and municipal licensing and standards gets a complaint, reissue notice to the property owner, re-educate the property owner that if they wish to keep the existing fence, they have to apply for an exemption.
Okay,
Consistent with-
so this is all within the process.
Correct.
Okay. All right, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Any other questions for staff? Mr. Slocum, do you have a camera?
I have a camera and it's on and the light is on and I have my camera on, but I see that I'm just a blank screen there, so I do apologize.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? No? Speakers? Councillor Robinson?
Yes, thank you. Obviously, you know, you want to collaborate and have everybody have a win-win here. But I don't unfortunately think that's feasible. We've been at this now 2 times this year already. And I know Councillor Carroll had, you know, she had raised some good questions at our last meeting. Staff have looked into it. And, you know, they've made a point of getting this done very quickly. So I guess I would like to actually move item 2 to grant the application for an exemption permit. I will tell you that we've had emails from both neighbors on either side of this property, which I hope I'm getting my directions right, west and east, fully in support of this. And they're the ones most affected because it's right beside their homes. So they've given their full consent and support. And I'm sorry that, you know, our neighbor also feels, or the neighbor feels that there's a precedent being set here, but we've heard now 3 times there is no precedent being set here by this application or previous applications. So the only reason I really didn't move forward on this last time was because we just had to do a little bit more homework, which we've done now. And so I'm moving item 2, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Robinson. Any other speakers on the item? No. So Councillor Robinson is granting the application. That's item 2. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor Cheng, you had a item you wanted to defer?
Yes, I'd like to defer 4.36, the tree removal at Dunforest. The forestry department has notified me that they have yet to provide notice to the neighbors, and that's part of the process before we bring up a demolition. So I'd like to defer it.
Okay.
And the motion is on the screen.
Right, and there is a speaker in line, Alina Wang. So, Ms. Wang, we will be moving this item to the next scheduled Community Council meeting. That is 206 Dunforest. All in favor of deferral? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor Cole, we're at 4.6, 131 Lyon Court, 836, 838 Roselawn. Councillor Cole, you held the item.
Yes, I have. I just have a couple of questions of staff here before we go. In terms of this application here, just want to, we're trying to find out who the owner of this application or this property is. And the importance of that is because they may be the owners of the apartment buildings to the north or to the west, to the east-west, yeah. So that's why we may need the cooperation of those other owners in proceeding with this application and some of the problems that occur. So I've been trying like crazy to find out, because we get the applicant's architect, the planner to show up, but the owners, it's a mystery to me who the owners are.
Through the chair, my name is Jason Z. I'm community planner for this particular file. I can confirm that the registered owner for the lands is 2806275 Ontario Limited. And
that doesn't help me at all.
Well,
yeah, I know. Sorry, but
I can provide you the developer's name if you give me a moment.
Is there a way of finding out if they're related to the abutting property owners? Because whatever we do at this site in the future, it's going to, there's some serious traffic problems in this court, this dead-end street here. So if we don't get the owners to cooperate, so could you find out who these mystery numbered company is? And are they related to any other mystery numbered companies?
Through the chair, we will look into that information and respond to your office separately on this matter, and we'll try to coordinate something for you.
Okay. Yeah, that's one question I have. So right now, another question I have is it possible, since there's the demolition of an existing apartment building here, I can't remember the number of units, but it's quite a significant number of people are going to be threatened with the demolition here. Is it possible that we could have an early meeting with the planning department, housing person who deals with demolition and housing replacement? Can we have an early meeting with some of the residents, because they're very concerned about losing their homes?
Aren't these offline questions, Councillor Cole? This is going up to City Council. There's a little bit of a gap between now and City Council to work some of these things out.
The problem is, Mr. Chair, the residents are in a panic. They think they're going to lose their homes. So we need to get them to sit down and get the proper information about what the process is here, about they will be protected through the city housing demolition thing. So I'm trying to get early intervention here before everybody panics even more.
Through the chair, Councillor, that matter we can certainly look into with our housing planning staff and get back to your office.
Yeah, so those are the two things for now. Okay, thank you for that. I'll speak to it.
Any other questions for staff? No? Speakers, Councillor Cole?
Yes. Again, I'll just mark again, one of the reoccurring problems with the planning process now in the City of Toronto now is that, like this application, they have already gone to the Ontario Land Tribunal. So even before we had the public meeting, community consultation, it was already at the tribunal. And the public has no idea what the Ontario Land Tribunal is. They have no idea that it is now before lawyers and professional planners, and that they may have to pay an $1,100 fee if they want to speak to the tribunal. The public has no idea the changes that have gone on in the province with the Ontario Land Tribunal, with Bill 23, Bill 109, Bill 108. And you know, what's really disconcerting for people is when the public meetings are held, they're not aware that the application has gone to the tribunal. So they're coming to the city at the public meeting saying, well, the city, we're against it, the city's got to stop it. And we try and tell them, it's gone to the tribunal. They say, what the heck is the tribunal? We didn't know that. This is happening over and over again. At every application now that I have before me almost, it goes to the tribunal either before, sometimes they don't even attend the public meeting, it just goes to the tribunal. So this has been a dramatic change in planning in the City of Toronto. And certainly the provincial government is not interested in informing people about the most significant changes in planning we've had in maybe 100 years. They're not informing anybody about the massive legislative changes. And yet, our city staff is overwhelmed because I think our city staff is now dealing with 830 development applications in the city. the last I heard. I'm dealing with 107 major residential development applications in my ward alone. So as a local councillor, I have a hard time keeping up. You can imagine my residents have a hard time keeping up with the changes, especially that are dramatic and impactful. So I'm just, I'm going to support the staff recommendations to oppose this application. Secondly, I'm also asking for a report back from staff on how we can better inform the residents about this tribunal step that is now in our planning process. That I'm asking a report back on how we can let the residents in a 120-meter radius know that the application has gone to the tribunal and give them a short note of what the tribunal is and how the rules have changed. I'm also asking for that meeting to be set up with the planning and housing people in our planning division to explain the protections are in place when rental housing is being demolished. And I said, in this case here, it's quite significant. They're demolishing a mid-rise building to put up a 35-story building. So those are the two motions that I've given to the clerk. And I'm supporting the staff recommendation to go to the tribunal and oppose this application for this 35-story building. And I wish I could show you pictures or photos of the area, but you know, we can never seem to do that. This is in Marleyville. It's a community of about 6,000-7,000 people living in high-rise towers. And there are no community facilities there at all. I know there's the planning issues, et cetera, but then there's the infrastructure. There's no library, no health center, no senior center. There's zero community infrastructure in a recreational, social nature, or health nature in this whole community. And that was going back to when the city of York built Marleyville with all these towers with Cadillac Fairview, and they put in zero community facilities. And now we're adding more residential development, which we all want. It's near subways, etc. Certainly it fits the new provincial guidelines about MTSAs. But on the other hand, we have zero community facilities in the area. That's another challenge for these applications that are coming in. And we're trying to address that with the Glen Cairn study, which I hope will say that what everybody knows, we have zero community facilities in Marleyville for these people that are about the size of the town, the city of Smith Falls, for instance. No library, nothing to go to. The only thing we celebrated is we did get a community facility. We got an LCBO in the community. Everybody says, wow, the government's coming into our community here. We got an LCBO. So anyways, that's what I'm moving. Thank you very much.
Okay, the motions are just about to go on the screen. Thank you, Councillor Cole, and the fact that the Federal Elections Commission is considering reducing council by another seat will make it even more difficult to manage the files that come across our desk.
Okay, again, just requesting the city manager in consultation with the clerk, city solicitor to report back next North York Community Council on the feasibility of informing residents about this new Ontario Land Tribunal step in the planning process, and request that the planning staff schedule a tenant meeting to calm the tenants down as they fear they're going to lose their home through demolition. So important to have this meeting up front. Thank you.
When you say lose their homes, do you mean their rentals? Are these rentals?
Councillor Cole, I would suggest you invite a legal firm to come and parcel.
All right. I'm sorry. The motion's no longer on the screen. Okay. So has everybody had a chance to review the motion? Okay. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And the item is amended. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Councillor Cole. 4.7, 25 Old Mills Road, held by Councillor Robinson. I do not have any speakers listed on the item.
I think Commissioner Carroll, I almost said. Councillor Carroll has questions. And I would like to say a few words, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Councillor Carroll, you have questions for staff?
Yeah, just a quick question of staff. Because I read this one with interest. It's frustrating to me that it's going to the OLT because it's not a huge building, 12 stories, although higher than everything around it. But it's always great when we can see a building that's willing to include a place of worship in the base of the building, because that's one less place of worship that is invading our employment zones. So we like to see those going into properly mixed-use zone places. But I see this went to the OLT. It seems like kind of an unfair situation because they applied in July just as councillors were heading out into the hustings and our meeting cycles going into hiatus. And in less than 6 months, there they were at the OLT. We're being instructed to oppose here, but as part of the reason we need to oppose it on a building of only 12 stories, that they're kind of taking advantage of the provincial policy and they're just expediting things by going quickly to the OLT. Is this we're a victim of Bill 109 and 23 here?
So through the chair, thank you for the question, Councillor Carroll. So I guess I would answer the question by saying, yes, the legislative timeframes have obviously changed, and we're seeing more and more of this happen where once we passed either the 90 days or the 120 days, applications are being appealed. And as you're also seeing when we bring reports to community council, we're seeing more and more of these appeal reports. So to answer your question also is, our number one recommendation in this report also says that we will continue to have ongoing discussions with the applicants in an attempt to resolve the issues. So we will continue to do that.
Right, and this is the building where the councillor has lots of experience with this type of building. You have lots of experience. You would have been happy to have those discussions without having to involve the province. But the legislation is just rushing them to the OLT to kind of hold that over our head. That's kind of the way the legislation is driving the process now, isn't it?
So through the chair, I would say, that obviously is a result of it, that the legislation has provided additional opportunities for matters to be appealed quicker.
Okay. Thank you. I just had to know, because when I read it, I thought, oh, for crying out loud, pardon my editorial comment, but I'm really feeling for the councillor and yourselves on this one. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Councillor Robinson, you wanted to speak on the item?
Yes, please. So obviously I'm supporting the staff recs. I want to thank City Planning, specifically Angela Zhao. It's a very thorough report, and as I said, I'll be fully supporting the recommendation directing staff to oppose the application at the OLT. Angela does a great job at our community meetings. I just want to give her a shout out at our public meetings, really answering the questions of staff of residents. We've been talking about staff so much lately, but Angela really answers the questions, and very impressive how she handles those meetings. Also, I want to give a shout out to David Sitt, who took the time to meet with residents, quite a few residents, about this issue, because it's been, as Councillor Carroll has indicated, it's gone at lightning speed. And the church hasn't been willing to speak to the neighborhood, and that's been very disappointing. Like, we need to work together and collaborate. And so they've kind of been blocked and given the cold shoulder. So, and they just basically ran off to the OLT. So as you can see, staff are concerned about height, massing, setback, shadowing, and overlook impacts and the transition to the neighboring properties. That's well outlined and illustrated in the report. And, you know, we're very concerned about it as is. It's a very environmentally sensitive area, as many of you know. It's regulated by the TRCA, so that has to be taken into consideration. And the application proposes a redesignation of the site from neighborhoods to mixed use, even though it is located on a local street within an established neighborhoods area. So I just fully support all these concerns they've identified. And again, very disappointing that developer chose to circumvent the city's planning process by appealing to the OLT before the community consultation. So we had the community consultation meeting in February, and they already had gone to the appeal mechanism of the OLT. So once again, I'm very disappointed that this final decision is now out of the city council control, out of our control as a city council, and firmly in the hands of the province of Ontario and their land tribunal. So I'll just wrap up by thanking staff and the many residents groups. I can't tell you how many groups were involved. The residents of 10 York Mills Road, the townhomes, the residents of Campbell Crescent, as well as the York Mills Valley Association, all played a pivotal role in this and have continued to, you know, really be engaged in the process. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Are there any other speakers on the item? I do not see any. Councillor Robinson, are you moving the staff recommendations?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, staff recommendations moved on item 4.7, 25 Old Mills Road. All those in favor? I've got 2 online and 2 seated, so we've got quorum. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor Cheng has a quick release, item number 14.
I'd like to approve the application to demolish with conditions.
Right, so Councillor Cheng is moving, it's 18 Goulding Avenue, a residential demolition application, and Councillor Cheng is moving approval with conditions. Item, option 3. Are there any questions for staff, the mover? Okay, let's put it to a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So we're on item 11. I don't have any speakers listed on the item. I believe, Councillor Cheng, you held the item 172, 186 Finch Avenue West.
Is this 4.11?
Yeah, it looks like a directional report.
It's held by Councillor Carroll.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Councillor Carroll, you held the item
Yeah.
down?
Yeah, I just had a question about this because we're doing the demolition here, but I was wondering how the heritage.
That's a directional report.
Sorry,
Are you on?
not
It's item 411.
On 11, yeah. We're doing the clearing of the site if this goes through in settlement, but I was wondering if it's going to the OLT, are all the heritage issues that were formally done around the heritage house that sits on this site, are they a part of the OLT proceedings, or was that covered off on beforehand and taken through preservation board? I'm wondering because it's a unique situation, but not unlike something in my ward.
Staff?
How does the previously designated heritage house factor into the OLT proceedings? And more to the point, does the provincial legislation give them more liberty in those situations than previously?
Through you, Chair, the proposal will be maintaining the heritage building on site, and the relocation of that heritage building is similar to previous OLT approval. So it's in a similar location. Heritage staff is looking at how that relocation strategy will be done properly and according to city standards.
Oh, okay. So that's sort of more or less worked out. It's other fine points that are the reason for this having to go to LT. I stopped on it because again, it's it looks like a well organized site. The 11 stories is out by the avenue, etc. And what is causing them to have to go to the OLT? So that I thought maybe the heritage was an issue, but it sounds like that's organized, and this is yet another case of the developer just saying, "I'll hurry things up by going to the OLT because I can now more quickly," and then just hold that over city planning's head. Is that more or less what's going on here?
The heritage staff has been requesting a number of items to secure the heritage building that right now they've identified a state of deterioration. They want to know how the impacts the proposed building is going to impact the heritage building. Those details haven't been ironed out or provided yet. So that is part of the information that the heritage staff is looking for.
Okay, so there are some real complexities that require that hearing. Okay, those are my questions, Mr. Chair. I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Carroll.
you.
Any other questions for staff? Councillor Cheng.
So just to clarify from Councillor Carroll's questions, is the complexity of the heritage site one of the motivations of going to OLT to expedite things, or what is the motivation of going to OLT?
I think that the proposal has been appealed for a number of items, heritage being one of them, and heritage staff is looking for certain details to secure to ensure that the relocation, the impact, and the deterioration of the heritage building will be improved.
I think, Councillor, just to add to that, heritage is not the only consideration here. Staff have concerns with other elements of the proposal as well: building location, height, scale, massing, and shadowing. So there's issues beyond just the heritage relocation of the building.
Okay, so just to confirm, they're going to OLT because they're not happy with what you're not happy about.
I mean, I would leave it up to the applicant as to their motivation, but at this point, staff and the applicant are not in agreement with the overall site organization, massing, et cetera.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cheng. Any other questions for staff? Speakers on the item?
I'd like to move staff recommendations.
Councillor Cheng is moving the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 12, 155 Elmridge Drive. Councillor Cole, did you hold this item down?
Yeah.
Questions for...
There's two houses there, so there are two items. I'll just speak to both of them here. Again, this is these are two homes that I'm just going to speak to it. These are two homes that are owned by the RENA Foundation, which houses people with developmental disabilities, and they have homes all over the city.
You're combining the two items. Right?
Yes, I'm combining the two. And they have homes all over the city. They just built a new residence in York Region. But by demolishing these homes, they are going to build a new 19-story residence for people with developmental disabilities that is much needed in the city of Toronto, and much welcome. In fact, this will be the largest residence of its kind in Canada, with over 100 units that'll be supportive housing. They'll have a kitchen area, health center area on this new site. And plus the benefactor donated $7 million towards the construction of this home. So it's a real win-win situation for the Rena Foundation and the persons that need this housing desperately. I want to thank the planning staff of City of Toronto for their work on this file, especially the planner on the file is Ben DeRamo, and he's been very helpful in getting through the complexities of this application because it's a small lot, but on the other hand, with the height, it makes it financially viable. I want to thank the Toronto Housing Company, who's the next door neighbor to the site that is cooperating and utilizing some of their driveway to accommodate access and egress to the new proposed site. And I want to thank Abby Bond from the Toronto Housing Secretariat, who's also very instrumental in coordinating all the different aspects of this proposal. And so it's a very good example of what can be built in a community for people that need housing, that are vulnerable and marginalized. Again, it took a lot of different partners, and I want to thank everybody for contributing to that enterprise. And the other good thing is that it's on the dashboard, which means that there's an acceleration of certain projects in the city, and this made it to the new dashboard where there's an acceleration of the process, and that makes it happen much faster than usual, and that's another good accomplishment by our planning department in creating the acceleration dashboard. So there's a lot of good component parts that went into this thing, and I want to thank Senator Gary Gladstone also, who's helped coordinate this project too and getting public support for it. So, and I'm going to move the recommendations number 3 for the demolition with the conditions on both items. So again, it's a good news story, especially for the families who've been waiting for years for accommodating their family members who are really vulnerable, especially when it comes to housing.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Any other speakers on the item? Councillor Cheng?
I just want to say I went for a tour of the facilities on Clark Avenue by the Rena Foundation and was so impressed by the quality of their design, the dignity that they provide, and the quality of life for the residents. So I'm excited to hear that we're getting one in Toronto, and I hope that it's the first of many. So congratulations to Councillor Cole on landing one in his community.
Thank you, Councillor Cheng. I will echo those remarks and just thank Councillor Cole for his support of this transformative residence. Rena has done remarkable work for 50 years, I believe. I think I was at a 50-year anniversary of the great work they do in supporting adults with exceptionalities and disabilities. I believe I have 7 residences in my ward, and they are great, great to have in our local communities. These are the professionals that are doing wonderful work, and as I said earlier in the meeting, government cannot do it all. We have to rely on our charitable partners, our nonprofit partners, and when it comes to housing, this is exactly what we need. I think when this first came to Community Council, I said the only thing I don't like about it is that it's not in my ward. So congratulations, Gary, and congratulations, Councillor Cole. This is going to be a wonderful facility. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Councillor Cole has moved option number 3, which is the demolition approval. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And we sort of did, well, we'll do a separate vote. We have to approve number 13, 165 Elm Drive. It's the same motion. approving third option, demolition with conditions. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Number 14, we have moved. We've deferred that item. Number 16, 100 Patricia Avenue. There's no speakers on the item. We've released that one. Okay. Okay. Item 17, Councillor Chang, you held that, 50 Finch Avenue East.
There's a speaker.
Ali Hajadi. Great. Thank you very much. You have 5 minutes.
Hello, Mr. Speaker, honorable councillors. If the notion is approved with the condition, I'm okay with that. So there's no, I don't need to talk about it.
Happy to hear any thoughts that you did have.
Oh, yes, thank you so much, Councillor Chang. During last year that we purchased this property, we had 4 intrusion, we had 4 complaints from neighbors, and we decided to hoard around this project by construction hoarding. And on January this year, there was a week of a group of crackheads enter into this property, live there for a week, make a fire, and then there was a police report that it's in the file that there was a fire, forensic was there, and we think that this is the best for the public, for the neighbors, and the corner of Finch and Kinnett and Doris, to that 2 dwelling unit to be demolished. We are in the process of getting the approval for existing application. There's an existing NOAC for that property for a 7-story building. We are moving forward for a 17-story, and we are in the process of minor variance. I believe, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think it's in my opinion, it's the best for the neighbors and the community to demolish this too, with the condition of putting sod and keeping nice and clean for the neighborhoods. Thank you. And there are some pictures here that I can share with you. This is for the January this year. The condition inside the suites are not really good. There are water, all the basement, and you see glasses are broken. We tried to fix this property several times. You can see we did close the building by plywoods and everything, but it didn't work. And the neighbors they have glass separation between them, and they are not really happy, and they're not feeling safe. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions of the speaker? Thank you, sir. Okay, being none, Councillor Chang.
So I just want to say that it's unfortunate that 2 houses have sat vacant for so long, and any time that houses are vacant, then they become a risk to the community. So in general, I hope that we try to keep houses livable while applications are going through, but I understand you purchased it and it was already in the state. So I'm going to move the recommendation to demolish with conditions, and also encourage all developers to try to retain housing as much as we can, because we do have a housing
Councillor,
shortage.
sorry, I just want to add something. We have a hoarding with the plywood. I'll be happy to contact your office to have something sort of collaboration between us as a public art, or something that we can do about that corner. That's a beautiful corner that we can do whatever. We can talk about TIA or anyone. We are open to having a discussion.
Wonderful. We look forward to chatting with you about that.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Chang, are you moving?
To move to demolish with conditions.
Okay, Councillor Chang is moving to demolish with number 3, right?
There's two locations.
Okay,
so
we'll do one first.
Yeah. 50 and 52.
Okay,
Finch
50 first, all in favor of demolishing with condition number 3? Councillor Carroll and Councillor Robinson, thank you very much. That's passed, demolition with condition. Now we'll move on to next door at 52, Finch NY 4.18. A deputation on that.
Oh, I think it's the same.
Same deputation. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you then. Councillor Chang then?
Same. Move to demolish with conditions.
Okay, Councillor Chang is moving to demolish with conditions. That's number 3, demolition with conditions. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Councillor Pasternak's notes here. Okay, we're going to move to number 29. Okay, Spring Garden Avenue, parking amendments, NY 29. Councillor Chang held it.
I just have a couple of questions. I'm wondering why there's a move to, I'm sorry, the parking, rescind existing parking prohibitions from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. I see we're rescinding parking prohibition from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., but then we're also adding prohibition of parking.
Councillor Chang held it.
It's very confusing why there's rescinding and then adding at the same time.
Right. Thank you, Councillor, for the
Yeah.
question. So the rescinding is on both sides of the street. We're reenacting on the south side of the street, and then the new proposed bylaws on the north side of the street in the area being covered has new parking regulations that go in that include that 3 to 6, but are more inclusive. So it's best seen on the map. It makes it most clear. The final page.
Right. Okay. 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 Thank you for that clarification.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I'm in full support of this. This is something that the school community has asked for to help with pickup and drop-off times. It's very hard when a school is in an urban location where there isn't a lot of side streets. So this will really help the parents there. So I move to go with staff recommendations.
So, Councillor Chang, you're moving staff recommendations on 4.29 Spring Garden Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 30, 23 Laurentia Crescent. That's my item. There is... Oh, so we have a last-minute speaker. Is it online or?
Hello?
I don't have a name. Hello?
Hi, my name is Anthony Bartolini from Square Design Group, and I'm the registered speaker on this file. Is it okay that I move forward and speak?
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
I appreciate that very much. To tell you the honest truth, I just registered to speak in the event that there was any questions from council. If there is no questions, I'm okay to proceed as follows.
Yes, please proceed.
You guys are okay. You guys are okay to proceed with the motion as required. If there's any other necessary information, I'm here to provide that, if that's okay.
Oh, I see. So you don't have a formal deputation.
No, I do not. I do not. I'm actually just the authorized agent, or I was acting as the applicant to submit this file on behalf of my client. So I'm just present today to answer any questions that council may have.
Okay. Any questions for the deputant? No, I just have one. So your proposal is to put, is it a wrought iron fence in and around the back door?
Correct, exactly. So with the current fence bylaw, we were having a hard time just being exactly in compliance. So what worked with this proposal to suit the area best was basically just to have more of a Juliet style operable gates basically attached to the house. We think it won't really have too much of an impact, or actually no impact in terms of safety. So we brought the proposal to council.
So it says in the report here, it's a Juliet style fence?
Correct, exactly. So it would basically just be fastened to the brick, and you would have the opportunity to open the fence as soon as you were kind of walking outside the back door.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I just got muted. Did you catch the end of my comment there?
I did. Okay. Thank you very much. I just have a couple questions for staff.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Any other questions for the deputy? No. I guess that's no. Okay. I guess to staff, it's a wrought iron fence around the back door, and I guess it's described in the report here as a Juliet. Can you explain the risks that would pose, if any, and what the alternative should be under bylaw, or whether, obviously, you don't think this is sufficient, so, oh, there you are.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Christina Sabella for the record, supervisor with MLS West District. The only concern that this could pose is that I believe it is a kitchen on the other side of that door, and that gate is to be remained locked at all times if it's forming part of a pool enclosure. So I guess if access, for example, in case of a fire, would be needed through that way, that gate would be closed at all times. The alternative to not putting that fence there would be to enclose the pool separately with a fourth fence going across the backyard or the pool in its entirety. Other than that, that would be the only other option they would have to enclose that area.
So I'm just trying to. The only other option is to enclose the pool separately, but a back door fencing option is not acceptable?
Well, no, it doesn't. The bylaw doesn't allow you to use any openings or the wall of your home as part of the enclosure due to openings such as a door or a window. So if you're wishing to use that part of the home, you need to ask relief from the bylaw.
So I'm looking at the drawings here, and I'm just seeing a very enclosed back door. In other words, a very secure fencing option out the back door, the back entrance. I guess there's designs attached here, and I'm just wondering, your feeling is this is not sufficient? I mean, it's a lockable.
Well, okay, so in terms of the actual, what the requirement is for a fencing or an enclosure for the pool, they would meet the requirements if it was 4 feet in height, had a self-closing, self-latching gate, capable of being locked. I'm just stating that that gate on there requires to be permanently locked at all times. So in the case of an emergency, if they needed to ever access that exit at their rear door, they would have the doors themselves plus an extra gate immediately right there that would be locked.
Thanks very much.
But in terms of the pool bylaw, it would meet the requirements of a fence. Just where it's located is what I believe they're asking exemption from.
Right. So when it comes to the pool, it meets the standard.
Correct. It's just where they're placing it doesn't.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Any speakers? Councillor Carroll?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Mr. Chair, I had a good look at the plans here in the report, and I don't actually have any questions for the deputy because what we need to consider this is right here in the report, and I share some of the concerns that we heard the staff trying to convey. We still have this difficult pool bylaw. Over time, we're varying what the original intent was and allowing these Juliet doors. But the fact of the matter is, if you look at the layout of this backyard, I don't buy that there's no reason why you can't properly enclose the pool and leave lots of room for enjoyment of the backyard, the beautiful, complicated interlock pattern of the backyard, the terrace steps down from the house. You want a safe pool, and you want a safe house too. I would hate for there to be a fire at the front of this house and people struggling to get out the back door because of the complicated mechanism they're putting. But if you look at the generous size of the backyard and the fact that the pool is off to the side, leaving a lot of patio area, I want to be recorded in the negative on this one, because I really would love to uphold our pool bylaw, keep the pool safe and the house safe. And some landscape architect has put the pool where it would be easy to enclose it and still have a very beautiful backyard. And where that's the case, I can't for the life of me imagine why someone wouldn't want to do that, rather than really basically make the back door of their house pretty unattractive. And because that's what they'll be doing, I really have no confidence that they won't eventually just find a way to MacGyver that gate open and leave it open, because summer is people running back and forth from the kitchen to the patio. And let's make the pool safe and the house safe is why I want to be recorded in the negative on the proposal as it stands.
All right, thank you, Councillor Carroll. I'm going to defer the item. I'd like to work with the homeowner a little more closely. So I'd like to move deferral to the next regular scheduled community council meeting. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we're on item 31, 59 Palm Drive, application to remove a private tree. We do have a registered speaker on the item. Albert Attar?
Yes.
Online? Yes, Mr. Attar, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak. Hello, my name is Albert Attar. I'm 66 years old. My wife and I own the property at 59 Palm Drive in North York that we purchased in 2019. We renovated the house and moved in April 2020. We did landscaping and planted 7 trees on the property and over 20 cedars around the back of the property for privacy, and left the pine tree at the front that the previous owner planted. It was a small tree at the time. Now, 3 years later, the tree grew too large for the spot. Animals are climbing to get to the roof of the house. The tree is very messy. We have to keep picking up lots of pine cones from the driveway and the grass area. It's becoming a tripping hazard if you step on them, and it makes it difficult to cut the grass without damaging the lawnmower. The pin needles get stuck in the car vents. The driveway is starting to lift from the roots. I'm afraid that the roots will crack the foundation. The plow guy accidentally nicked it in the winter, a very slight nick. I feel it's going to be too big for the area. The mess just doesn't stop. I'm asking if we could remove the tree and put 2 or 3 smaller trees in the same spot for privacy. At this moment, I have hundreds of pine cones all over the driveway and grass area from the winter. And I can't park the car under the tree. It gets sap all over it. It is hard to get off the paint. It is very difficult to walk on the driveway at night. I am always sweeping the driveway so that no one will trip. I spoke to a landscaper. He gave me a few suggestions of what trees to put there that would work. I did send some pictures to you, hoping you can pull them up, but there was a tree that he recommended that probably goes about 10 to 15 feet high, around 3 feet wide. You can put about 2 or 3 of them, and that would work for the area. So I'm hoping, or you can let me, I guess, remove the tree and replace them with something else. Thank you.
Thank you for your deputation. Now, there are some suggestions here in the staff report about tree trimming and some other mitigation and initiatives. Have you taken those under advisement?
Yes, the trees, that type of tree is very difficult to trim, but it just gets taller and wider. It's more the mess that it creates every time it rains. I don't know if you've seen some of the PDF that I sent. A pile of pine cones always drop at every rainfall, and I'm always sweeping it. So even trimming it does not get rid of them. It just seems to come down. So there's just so much that it grows. I just can't keep up. And I'm always watching at night what I'm walking on. Literally, it can step on them, and they're just getting larger every time.
Is it a well-treed property currently?
Sorry?
Are there lots of trees on the property currently?
Well, I've installed 7 trees, some in the front. There is another one beside it that's, and actually it was tagged by the city, which when I did the renovation, they had it tagged that one, but not this tree. But I put in 7 trees in the property that were not there before.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions for the deputant? Yeah. Any questions for staff? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Burnside.
Thank you. The deputant mentioned that the roots were causing problems with the driveway. Now, I noticed one picture. I didn't see that to be the case, but it wasn't a great angle. Could you comment on the roots affecting the interlocking brick?
Through the chair, sure. Thank you. The process to look at that sort of revolves around our approach to the application review. We recognize, or we feel, that removing a tree doesn't automatically fix any cracks that might exist in the pavement. So if a revised request were to be submitted to injure the tree, we would look at that, or if it were if the applicant felt it was necessary to remove the tree to effect those repairs, we would look at that through a slightly different process. It would be a construction-related application as opposed to a non-construction or maintenance-related application, as is the one before us. And one of the questions that we would put to the applicant and the arborist through that process is whether the tree removal is in fact necessary to effect those repairs.
Thank you. I don't think that really answered my question. So my question, it looked like interlocking brick. So let's start with that. Is it an interlocking brick driveway?
Large pavers, sure, yes.
Okay, thank you. Second question. Are the large pavers heaving? Because I couldn't, it didn't look like they were in the picture, but I couldn't tell. I know you have a whole process, but it's a simple question. Are they heaving or not?
I can't answer that specifically. It's
That's
not
fine.
uncommon for pavers to lift due to trees or not due to trees.
Sorry. I don't want to interrupt you. I'm just asking a specific, I don't mean to be aggressive. I'm just asking a specific question. So uncommon, common, I don't really care. I'm just asking in this situation, if you don't have the answer, that's no problem at all. In terms of the coverage of the tree over the driveway, the gentleman mentioned that sap was going on his car. Is that tree, is the overhang over the whole driveway, and do you know? I say you may not know the answer. It's just there was only one picture that I saw in the report, so it's just really hard for me to get an understanding of what's going on there.
Through the chair, we do have other pictures. I have consulted them. No, the tree doesn't extend over the entire driveway. It's a 2-car wide driveway. I would estimate that the branches go about half a car over the drive, if that explains that.
Yeah, thank you. That was very helpful. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Burnside. Councillor Chang?
I'm through the chair. I'd like to ask about the what happens when these types of trees are beside driveways, because I think sap on cars is a problem, and so what is the norms out there when it comes to these types of trees beside driveways?
Through the chair, it's urban forestry's general policy that we don't penalize trees, and permitting them for removal could be sort of a penalty. We don't penalize trees for the natural functions that they perform, or for the things that owners, residents, and even arborists might consider to be a nuisance. So we don't dispute that this tree may be dripping sap onto cars if they are parked underneath that or onto the driveway. We wouldn't deem that to be a satisfactory reason for the tree to be permitted for removal, which is part of why our process leads to the denial, and we, when appealed, we bring it to community council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chang. So speakers on the item other than me? So I am going to, speakers. Yes, Councillor Burnside.
Sorry, Councillor.
No, I'm looking forward to your speech.
The few I give, I hope they're meaningful. So I actually have a blue spruce on my front yard, and it comes over the driveway a little bit, and I get those honeycombs or whatever you want to call them falling on my lawn, falling on my driveway. The good news is the sap is really more in the summer when it gets hot. But here's the thing. I'm not a tree advocate, as you know. In fact, most of the time I will offer to vote in support of removing a tree. I can't stand my tree, but at no point would I ever think to cut down my tree because of sap coming on my car. I just move it, or the combs that are on the, whatever you call them, that end up on my lawn or my driveway. I haven't heard other reasons that would help me to support the removal of the tree. Certainly sap and honeycombs, or whatever you call them, don't really, wouldn't meet my very low standard for tree removal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burnside. Any other speakers on the item other than me? So, I'm going to be an outlier. I'm going to approve the request to remove the privately owned tree. If we can put the motion on the screen. This is an opportunity to get 5 new replacement trees on this property, something we want to do to grow our forest canopy. There's actually at length here talking about recommending that the owner buy some cleaning products from an automotive retailer or auto body shop for advice, and even the suggestion of painting the car. You know, this is too much. I don't think any owner should have to go through this kind of stress and inconvenience and expense to preserve his tree and lose the opportunity of planting 5 other trees. So you know, we heard Councillor Burnside, and this species of tree is a major problem, and I realize that inconvenience and mess does not always merit removal. But at the same time, this is creating property damage. Now, I don't know what cars this property owner drives. I don't know how much it costs to clean the cars, and I don't know how much it costs to repaint the cars, which is actually a suggestion here. So I'm going to err on the and give the benefit to the property owner, because I think quiet enjoyment of a property is a right, and that we have an opportunity here to plant 5 more trees that or in cash in lieu that the owner can to work with staff on, and make sure that they are more suitable for the property. So I'm moving approval of the removal.
Mr. Chair, could I just add a couple words here? That A, I'd like a recorded vote, and B, I'm concerned about council's policy change last term on this, because we're losing a lot more trees. I don't think we should be losing trees because they drop pine cones. If you took down every tree in the city that drops pine cones, including my property, we'd lose a huge percentage of our tree canopy. So I just worry the precedent this is setting, but I will be voting against it.
Fully understand, Councillor Robinson. Any other speakers on the item?
Yeah, I'd like a recorded vote as well, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely, Councillor Carroll. Okay, all those in favor of approving the application? Councillor Pasternak? I don't see any other hands going up. Okay, all those opposed? Councillor Cole, Councillor Burnside, Councillor Cheng, Councillor Robinson, and Councillor Carroll. Well, I'd rather be right than win a vote. Okay. So we have to move. Okay, so we have to do one more vote. That is to approve staff recommendations to deny the application. So all those in favor of the staff recommendations? And opposed? There we go. Okay, item number 32, 146 Three Valleys Drive, application to remove a private tree. Councillor Burnside, I don't have any deputants. Oh, wait a minute, there is a Francis Doyle?
So,
Francis,
hello? Just a point of order, I think, right? If I'm not mistaken, staff didn't send out notices to neighbors. I think it's the same situation that Councillor Cheng had. So based on that, I think I need to ask for a deferral to June.
Deferral's always in order?
Is that okay?
Okay.
Sorry,
so
Mr. Chair, which item are we on?
we're on item 32, 146 Three Valleys Drive, application to remove a private tree. The local councillor has moved deferral.
But just on a question of technicality, do staff send out notices, or it's simply a matter of the notices posted on the property?
Does forestry want to answer that? Mr. Bostock?
Through the chair, I'm happy to. Thank you. Yes, it's a notice that is placed at the property. A placard is placed at the property, giving the community the opportunity to comment on items before we bring them to community council. And for 2 of the files before you today, we identified this morning that didn't happen, with our apologies.
Oh, okay. So it's that's the reason I asked it. If we wanted notices mailed out, that would be an expense, and we'd have to move a motion for it. But there wasn't even something on the property, is what you're saying. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, Miss.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you,
thank you,
Councillor
Councillor
Carroll.
Carroll.
And Councillor Bernstein is moving deferral to the June meeting of Community Council. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Miss Doyle? Or Mr. Doyle? Mr. Doyle,
Yes.
did you, we've deferred this item to June. So if you could just stay in touch with your local councillor about the new date, and this item will be heard then. Okay, so you're...
Okay, thank you.
You're free to go. Item 33, 16 Clematis Road. We do have speakers.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have not had any contact with the applicant here prior to this meeting, so I was intending to defer as well. But I'm wondering now if I could find out, first of all, did staff post a notice about this one? Is this one that didn't get posted? And secondly, if you could instruct the speakers, if they speak today, they wouldn't be able to speak when we bring it back. So if you could handle that for me.
Understood. And now, do you want the details of whether notice was sent, or do you just want to defer it?
Yeah, because I heard Mr. Bostock say there were a couple where there was no notice posted.
All right.
Through the chair, thank you. When this came up, we looked immediately across the files this morning, and yes, the notices for the remaining 4 items have been provided.
Oh, okay. So if you could just instruct the applicant, Mr. Chair, because I would like a chance to visit the site.
All right, so you're moving deferral to the next scheduled community council meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. So you do have there is a speaker.
Yes, so if you can instruct the speaker, he then has the choice of speaking today or at the future meeting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I understand that. So Mr. Alfano Tellier? Maricar? So I'm not sure whether you caught what just happened, but we have deferred this to the next scheduled community council meeting. So we will not be hearing the item today. You can then depute on this item and stay in touch with your local councillor on the date.
So Mr. Chair, on a point of order, if we could instruct that we haven't voted yet on the deferral motion. What I was asking you to instruct the people who've applied to speak is, for convenience sake, if they want to speak today, they may, or they can wait until we reconsider the item when it comes back. That's my understanding of our practice. And if you could just give them that choice, because I know they are here today. So it's up to them which time they'd like to speak, because we haven't voted on the deferral yet.
All right, they're actually online, but Maricar, did you want to speak today on the item or when it comes up for debate?
Next month.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Is it clear to, I'm just trying to keep to our regular practices. It was me who said next month, because I didn't hear you say that at the end of the sentence. Our usual practice is they have the option of speaking today or when it comes back next month. So if you could instruct them, I would be most appreciative.
I believe I did. I gave the option, and the deputant elected to speak next month.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be sure, because it was me who said the words next month. So I didn't want there to be any misunderstanding. I said next month because I didn't hear you say it at the end of your sentence.
Yeah, the problem, Councillor Carroll, is we're having some audio problems with the deputant.
Oh, I see. So next month would be ideal then. That's why I guess I'm struggling. I didn't know that. Okay. So I am moving deferral.
Okay. All those in favor of deferral? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor, okay, so item 35, 76 Covewood Street, application to remove 3 private trees. It's actually Sally Kello's item, but it is held by Councillor Robinson. And I thought we had a motion earlier
Yes.
to deal with this item.
Yeah, is there deputants, or if not, I'll ask staff questions.
No, I don't have speakers on this item.
Okay, so
So
I'll ask staff questions if that's appropriate.
Sure. Questions for staff?
Okay. So I've looked at I'm a visual person, and these are pretty big trees and significant and beautiful trees. I'm just wondering staff's position on this. My understanding is you're not in support of them being removed?
Through the chair, that's correct.
And is that because they're in fair overall condition with a fair structure, or what's the structure of these trees?
Our assessment is pursuant to the terms in the bylaw, and we try to determine whether trees are healthy and therefore what we deem to be maintainable, or whether they're in poor condition, in which case we have the authority to permit removal if the application is satisfactory. Our assessment has determined that these trees are healthy. Therefore, there's no provision in the bylaw for us to approve the removals, hence the denial. And when appealed, it comes before community council. Okay, and can you just describe their diameter, or a little bit about the scope scale of these trees? The diameters are listed in the staff report, and I would refer to that document. I will say, in addition, the trees are representative of middle-aged trees of their species. They are they're certainly large enough to qualify for bylaw protection, which begins at 30 centimeters. If we wind back the clock, hypothetically 30 or 40 years, these trees would have potentially been planted as shade or screening around the perimeter of the backyard. Forestry can only be happy that they have thrived and done really well in that environment. And now there are, the applicant is experiencing problems, and those are outlined in the report. Those are related to space and shade and dead needles and things like that. So we're understanding of that situation. However, the provisions of the bylaw which guide our actions are relatively clear, and certainly very clear to us. And the trees are healthy, so we don't support their removal. Okay. And you just started down that road. That was my next question. What is the issues? You said shade. I thought shade was maybe a good thing. But what are the issues that the applicant has that you want to highlight? That you don't want to highlight, but
Councillor Robinson, just a reminder, Councillor Carroll has a compromise motion that she put on the screen earlier. So this is not a zero-sum game. I think she found a compromise at the local level. Councillor Carroll, is that correct?
Well, I wasn't aware of that, but
okay. I just want to let you know before.
I still think I have. Am I not able to ask questions?
Yeah. Yes, but
yeah. Go ahead.
You can keep asking.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just
so
saying
that's what I thought.
It's not a zero-sum game on these 3 trees.
Okay, but I'd still like to ask questions because I spent a lot of my time protecting trees. So and I do that in my ward. So, and I know Councillor Carroll does that in her ward. Okay, so now I forgot what I was saying. Yes, could you just remind us why the applicant David wants to take them down?
To answer that question, we refer to the information that is given to us. There's a brief section on the application form where that can be entered. There's information that's given in the arborist report. And occasionally we have additional information that comes from our communication with the applicant as we review the process. And to the best of our ability, we try to summarize that in the report that is brought before council. So in this case, I can read from that report. The reason for the removal is a lack of long-term viability. And that may represent a difference in perspective. The applicant's version of what is viable with respect to maintaining their property may be different from forestry's version of what is viable in terms of can the trees be maintained. So I would, I would refer to things that we've already talked about today, things like dead needles being shed, things like cleaning up pine cones, things like, the light, we think of shade as being good, but when these trees are bottom heavy because they're conifers, that shade can be, can result in an owner being unable to grow grass or have space at ground level or things like that.
Okay, thank you for your answers.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Any other questions for staff on this item? Councillor Burnside?
Well, sorry, I might have a question for staff, but I would rather hear what the compromise is. Can I understand? Is that in the motion?
Yes, Councillor Carroll, you've worked.
Because I may not have a question once I hear what Councillor Carroll has to say.
Can we put that motion back on the screen? It was up there very briefly earlier, and then the item was held down. So let's take a look at that. Maybe you have questions for the mover. You okay over there? I hear some heavy sighing.
Hey, everybody okay?
Oh, sorry, that was me. I forgot
We're almost
my
done,
mic
guys.
was already open.
Okay. All right, what do we got here?
Okay, so if you want me, I'll speak to that motion now, and then questions the mover might figure it out. Yeah. So, councillors, if you look to your agenda, this motion speaks to permitting the removal of the tree that you can see in attachment 1. And it really tells the story. If you look at that photograph, staff have taken a perfect photograph here. Tree number 1 is an Austrian pine. And, if a builder says he's going to plant Austrian pines in a new subdivision, jump up and down and scream because this one is a bit of a mess. If you look at the photograph in attachment 1, you can see that there is no grass anywhere in this backyard because of the circumference of this tree. The homeowners there's the 2 trees over on the other side, which I'm not going to permit removal of, having spoken to them. But you can see the homeowners have already planted some cedars at the back that they hope will thrive and become a buffer, because the backyard of this house backs onto Steeles Avenue. So they do want the noise buffer. And as you know, cedars can grow to quite a height, and there still will be a very mature tree at the corner of the lot and the other. It's this tree number 1 that I'm going to approve, and Councillor Robinson is right. I have a denial of a request in my ward elsewhere on this agenda that we've already approved on consent. I'm all for saving trees, but I visited the site on this one. I've spoken to the residents a number of times, and we've spoken to Mr. Bostock as well, who's going to work on a replanting program with the residents, because this one is really difficult. It not only sheds a lot of needles, despite they've even tried having they had a professional pruner come and prune branches further up to try and create a little light underneath and some health of the tree. They've tried shaping it, everything, and it has just shed so many needles that grass won't grow. And then beyond that, even the sort of the makeup of the sap is such that the ground has become super hard. Like, even if you cut this tree down, it's going to be quite difficult back because of the acid dryness of the yard. It's really sterilized the backyard from use. And so, having made this visit, I'm making the rare step for me of approving the removal of a tree that's 54 centimeters in diameter, but it's just really gone beyond any rational use of the property because of the particular species, this Austrian pine. This is a community member family that are very amenable to the replanting program, and they want to work with Mr. Bostock to decide whether on property or in the immediate community, but fully understand that they'll be responsible for that, and really want to maintain, especially the blue spruce that's at the back. It's a real complement to the cedars they've also already planted, and so I'm moving this motion that would remove the Austrian pine tree.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Any questions for the mover? Okay, let's put the motion on the screen and vote on it.
Speaker, could I ask for a recorded vote? I can't vote for that, but I'm
Yep.
just too, yeah, I just, again, I understand, the local councillor knows the site, and I definitely don't, but I'd just like to be, recorded in the negative.
Yeah, fully understood. Okay, so all those in favor of the motion? Councillor Cheng, Councillor Burnside, Councillor Cole, Councillor Carroll. Those against, Councillor Robinson and Councillor Pasternak. That item carries. That item carries. Item 37, it's appointments to Business Improvement Area Boards of Management, held by Councillor Cole.
Okay, I had an offline discussion with economic development staff, and I'll let the item go.
Okay. Item, Councillor Cole is moving the appointments. This is the report from the General Manager, Economic Development and Culture, recommending the appointments in front of you. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 29, laying the groundwork for a 25-year time capsule in North York. This is not here for discussion or public deputations. No questions of staff. I'm going to move receipt. All those in favor? I think it's going to be an exciting project. There's work to do. It's going to be a very exciting project. Very exciting.
We're all excited with you.
And thank you for your insight.
No, it's going to be great, and get your chutkas ready to put in this time capsule. We're done with 38. Nice. We have one more item left. Councillor Robinson has a walk-on motion that we added to the agenda.
Thank you. If I could just quickly speak to it, I want to explain that this medium, just so I think it's interesting, it was built years ago, decades ago, and so the actual curb is lower than regulated height. So what's happening here is vehicles, and I have to say when I say vehicles, I mean trucks, including garbage trucks, but all sorts of trucks run over it because it's lower than it should be. And this causes damage to all the greenery that the city has planted, and it inhibits growth, and it damages the sod. So trucks are the culprit here. And so it's in a terrible state of disrepair. And so that's why I wanted to move this along.
Okay. Any questions for the mover? Any questions for staff?
I'm just
No, it was me
wondering.
who held it, Mr. Chair, and I'm good.
I'm just wondering the cost to this. Where does the money come from?
Oh, so that'd be a question for staff. Councillor Cheng, questions for staff? We have someone from transportation here?
Hi, through the chair. It's
Oh, there we
Robert
go.
Mays here from Transportation Services.
Hi, I'm just through the chair, just wondering how much will this cost and where does that money come from?
Yes, we haven't developed a cost estimate for this project yet, but this type of work is typically delivered when the road is scheduled for some kind of rehabilitation work, resurfacing or reconstruction. We have identified that a portion of this street is scheduled for resurfacing in 2024. So there's certainly some cost savings in terms of crews already being mobilized on site with resources on site for construction activity for concrete work. Our unit in neighborhood projects could tap into to improve the situation here. Generally, and it's a product of the amount of concrete required. Typically, a meter square of concrete is something in the range of $250 plus or minus. I would suggest, if you'd like, I can pull up an image on screen that could sort of indicate what our response might be for this situation.
Sure.
Robert, we cannot see you at all. Is your camera not working?
Sorry, how's that?
Oh, yeah, no, that's much better. It's part of the revised rules of order that if someone's participating in the meeting, we really should see them. Okay, so that's great.
He's going to show something to us.
I could share my screen here. Hold on a second. So this is a street. It's not the street in question, but it's a very similar layout. This is Old Forest Hill Road, and we addressed this street earlier, which had very similar concerns and issues. You know, if the laneway, the roadway is partially occupied with a parked vehicle, people tend to mount over the curb a bit and go around that parked vehicle. And what we have found, again, we were approached with very similar concerns and constraints from residents on Old Forest Hill Road. We added this concrete apron around the center median, still being able to preserve the existing trees, but addressed a lot of that kind of grass compaction and soil compaction issues. It was a relatively simple response that seemed to alleviate the residents' concerns. So again, a portion of this street is scheduled for resurfacing in 2024. So the thought is that our neighborhood projects group could tap into that existing planned road rehabilitation work to make these changes happen.
Great. Thank you. I think I will support this, but in general, I'd like to see cost estimates when we're making decisions, and because to me, every yes is a no. When we say yes to one thing, we are inherently saying no to something else, as we have so many budgetary pressures right now. And so having, a cost estimate assigned to things, it helps us understand the impact when we're working on our budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cheng, for the fiscal responsibility. Any other speakers on the item? Or sorry, questions of staff? Any speeches? Councillor Burnside, I understand you had a speech ready. Councillor Robinson? Okay, all those in favor?
Sorry, I just wanted to say, I just really want to emphasize, this is more about the grass, vegetation, and trees than the concrete. Like, that's what's being damaged, is the soft landscaping and hard. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I'll move it.
All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we'll do the confirmatory bills. Councillor Burnside, since you've been a superstar today, could you please read the motion on the screen?
So highlight of my day, thank you. That bills 284 to 297 prepared for the April 4th, 2023 meeting 4 of the North York Community Council be declared as bylaws and passed subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Councillor Burnside. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. One more. Councillor Cheng, as a welcome back honor. If you, yes, very fiscal responsibly. Okay, so if you could read the motion on the screen, confirmatory bills.
That confirmatory bills to confirm the legislative proceedings of the North York Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 4 on April 4th, 2023 be declared as bylaws and passed subject to section 226.9
9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cheng. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much, councillors. Thank you very much, clerk staff, city staff, members of the public, deputants, our IT staff. Enjoy the rest of the day.
And I'd like to wish everyone happy Passover, Hag Sameach, especially to Councillor Pasternak, and also happy Easter to everyone.
Yes, no, happy holidays to all.
May your kishkas be full and tasty.